Most people never truly change because they cannot, or will not, step off the fragile glass of their own complacency. But why does this happen? What unseen force keeps us tethered to versions of ourselves that no longer serve us? Pause for a moment and consider the lives around you. Think about friends, family members, colleagues, even yourself. How many times have you heard someone say, "I'll start tomorrow," only to see tomorrow slip endlessly into the future? Or perhaps you've witnessed someone trapped in cycles of self-destruction, repeating the same mistakes over and over again, fully aware of the consequences but unable to break free. These patterns aren't accidents, they are symptoms of a deeper problem, a hidden resistance to transformation that runs through the very fabric of human existence. What if the root of this resistance lies not in external circumstances, but within the labyrinth of your own psyche? Picture your mind as a house filled with rooms. Some doors remain open, inviting exploration and discovery. Others are locked tight, guarding secrets you'd rather not confront. And then there's the attic, a dark, dusty space where shadows linger and old wounds fester. Most people spend their entire lives avoiding that attic, ignoring the whispers of pain and regret echoing from within. Yet, true change requires stepping inside, facing those shadows head-on, and dismantling the barriers you've built to keep them contained. But here's the catch: even when we know what needs to be done, even when we recognize the chains binding us to stagnation, breaking free feels impossible. Why? Perhaps it's because the act of changing demands more than just effort. It requires dismantling the identity you've constructed over years, decades, or even a lifetime. Who are you without the roles you play? Without the stories you tell yourself about who you are and why you can't possibly do better? To change is to risk losing everything familiar, including the version of yourself you've grown accustomed to loving or hating. Consider the concept of inertia. In physics, inertia refers to an object's resistance to changes in its state of motion. If it's at rest, it wants to stay at rest. If it's moving, it resists stopping. Humans operate under similar principles. Once we settle into patterns, whether healthy or destructive, we cling to them fiercely, fearing the chaos that might follow any disruption. Breaking free isn't merely about summoning willpower, it's about confronting the gravitational pull of habit, fear, and societal conditioning. It's about recognizing that the forces holding you back are often invisible, embedded so deeply within your subconscious that you mistake them for part of who you are. And yet, the question remains, why do some people manage to break free while others remain stuck? What sets apart those rare individuals who defy the odds and transform their lives from those who resign themselves to mediocrity, or worse, misery? Could it be courage? Insight? Luck? Or is there something else entirely at play, something buried so far beneath layers of denial and distraction that most people never even realize it exists? Think about the last time you tried to change something significant about yourself. Maybe you wanted to quit a bad habit, pursue a new passion, or heal a fractured relationship. Did you succeed? If so, what propelled you across the threshold of action? And if not, what stopped you? Was it fear of failure? Fear of success? Or was it simply the overwhelming weight of inertia dragging you back into the comfort of familiarity? Here's the truth that haunts us all: change is terrifying because it forces us to confront the unknown. It strips away the illusions we've built to shield ourselves from vulnerability. It challenges us to redefine who we are and who we want to become. And yet, without change, life becomes stagnant, the slow suffocation of potential unfulfilled and dreams unrealized. So why do most people choose stagnation over transformation? What invisible forces hold them captive, even when freedom lies just beyond reach? As you stand on the edge of that metaphorical glass lake, staring into the abyss below, one thing becomes clear: the journey toward real change begins with a single, piercing question: one that cuts through all the noise and forces you to face the truth about yourself. That question is this: are you willing to let go of everything you know, everything you believe, and everything you cling to, in order to become who you were always meant to be? Let's begin by peeling back the layers of your resistance to change, exposing the tangled web of psychological and philosophical forces that keep you tethered to stagnation. To understand why most people never truly evolve, we must first confront an uncomfortable truth: the human psyche is not designed for radical transformation. It is wired for survival, repetition, and self-preservation. Evolution has sculpted us to seek stability, not growth, and this instinctual drive often works against our highest aspirations. Think about it: the same mechanisms that once helped our ancestors avoid predators now trap us in patterns of thought and behavior that no longer serve us. Your brain craves predictability because uncertainty is perceived as a threat. This is where Carl Jung's concept of the shadow comes into play. The shadow represents all the parts of yourself you've repressed, denied, or deemed unacceptable, the fears, desires, and insecurities you've buried deep within your subconscious. These fragments of your identity don't disappear, they fester, influencing your actions from the shadows. When you resist change, you're often resisting the confrontation with these hidden aspects of yourself. You cling to familiarity not because it fulfills you, but because it shields you from the discomfort of facing who you really are. But the shadow is only one piece of the puzzle. Consider Friedrich Nietzsche's assertion that he who fights monsters should look to it that he himself does not become a monster. In resisting change, many people inadvertently create their own inner monsters, manifestations of unacknowledged pain, guilt, or shame. These internal adversaries whisper lies: you're not strong enough. You'll fail again. Why bother trying? Over time, these voices grow louder, drowning out the quiet call of possibility. Nietzsche understood that true transformation requires wrestling with these demons, embracing the chaos they represent, and emerging stronger on the other side. Yet few possess the courage, or perhaps the awareness, to engage in such a battle. Arthur Schopenhauer offers another lens through which to view this phenomenon. He argued that life oscillates between suffering and boredom, driven by an insatiable will to live. For Schopenhauer, humans are trapped in a cycle of desire and dissatisfaction, perpetually chasing goals that bring fleeting satisfaction before leaving them hollow once more. Change disrupts this cycle, forcing individuals to confront the void at the center of their existence. It's easier to stay stuck in the familiar rhythms of dissatisfaction than to risk stepping into the unknown, where meaning might be elusive, or worse, non-existent. Now let's turn to societal conditioning, a force so pervasive that it often feels indistinguishable from individual choice. From birth, you are shaped by cultural narratives, familial expectations, and systemic structures that dictate what success, happiness, and fulfillment should look like. These external frameworks embed themselves in your psyche, creating invisible scripts that govern your decisions. You may believe you're choosing freely, but how much of your life is dictated by inherited beliefs and unexamined assumptions? Jean-Paul Sartre famously declared that humans are condemned to be free, burdened by the weight of having to define their own purpose in a world devoid of inherent meaning. But freedom without guidance can feel paralyzing. Without a clear sense of direction, many retreat into the safety of preordained roles, sacrificing authenticity for acceptance. Addiction, too, plays a crucial role in maintaining stagnation, a point explored deeply by thinkers like Gabor, Maté, and Aldous Huxley. Addiction isn't limited to substances, it encompasses any behavior or mindset that provides temporary relief from existential unease. Social media scrolling, binge-watching TV shows, overworking, even clinging to toxic relationships, all serve as distractions from the gnawing emptiness inside. Huxley warned of humanity's susceptibility to pleasant vices in Brave New World, predicting a future where comfort would become the ultimate opiate. Today, his prophecy rings truer than ever. Modern society bombards you with endless opportunities to numb yourself, keeping you anchored in complacency while quietly eroding your capacity for meaningful change. And then there's Viktor Frankl, whose insights into human suffering and resilience provide a stark counterpoint to the forces of stagnation. Frankl survived the horrors of Nazi concentration camps and emerged with a profound understanding of what drives people to endure or collapse under adversity. He posited that those who find meaning in their struggles are far more likely to persevere. Meaning, according to Frankl, is the antidote to despair. Yet how many people actively seek meaning in their lives? How many instead allow themselves to drift aimlessly, numbed by routine and distracted by trivial pursuits? Without a sense of purpose, the prospect of change becomes overwhelming, even terrifying. These philosophical and psychological perspectives converge on a single, undeniable truth: the barriers to change are both internal and external, woven together in a complex tapestry of fear, conditioning, and denial. They manifest as cognitive biases that distort your perception of reality, reinforcing the status quo. For example, confirmation bias leads you to seek evidence that supports your existing beliefs, while loss aversion makes you disproportionately afraid of giving up what you already have, even if it's holding you back. Together, these biases form a psychological fortress, protecting you from the vulnerability required for genuine transformation. Yet the most insidious force of all may be the myth of gradual improvement. Society tells you that change happens incrementally, step by step, over years of consistent effort. While incremental progress is undoubtedly valuable, it often serves as an excuse to delay real action. If you believe that transformation takes decades, why rush? Why risk upsetting the delicate balance of your life today when tomorrow promises a safer path? This seductive lie keeps you waiting indefinitely, mistaking patience for passivity. As you reflect on these insights, consider the weight of the chains binding you to stagnation. Some are forged from fear, others from habit, and still others from the stories you've been told about who you are and what you're capable of achieving. Each link represents a decision made, or avoided, in service of maintaining the illusion of control. And yet, beneath these constraints lies a spark of potential, waiting to ignite if only you dare to strike the match. Now, let us delve deeper into the silent, corrosive effects of stagnation, not merely on individuals, but on the collective fabric of society. When personal transformation is stifled, its ripples extend far beyond the confines of one life. These unseen consequences manifest as cultural decay, systemic dysfunction, and a pervasive sense of disconnection that permeates every level of human interaction. To remain unchanged is not just an act of self-preservation, it is an act of complicity in perpetuating cycles that erode meaning, relationships, and progress. Consider the psychological toll of stagnation over time. When you suppress your potential for growth, you create a vacuum within yourself, a void where purpose and authenticity should reside. This emptiness doesn't simply disappear, it festers, manifesting as anxiety, depression, or chronic dissatisfaction. Viktor Frankl described this phenomenon as the existential vacuum, a state in which individuals feel unmoored because they lack a clear sense of direction or contribution. Without meaningful goals to strive toward, life becomes a series of hollow routines, each day blending indistinguishably into the next. And when enough people succumb to this inertia, entire communities begin to reflect this malaise. The result? A society drowning in apathy, where innovation stalls, creativity dwindles, and collective ambition gives way to complacency. But the damage doesn't stop there. Stagnation breeds conformity, and conformity stifles individuality. Think about how societal norms dictate what success looks like: wealth, status, material possessions, and how these external markers become substitutes for genuine fulfillment. People chase these ideals not because they align with their deepest desires, but because they fear standing out, being judged, or facing rejection. Jean-Paul Sartre called this bad faith, the act of living inauthentically by denying your freedom to choose your own path. When everyone conforms to the same narrow definitions of happiness, diversity of thought vanishes, replaced by homogeneity. This collective suppression of uniqueness leads to a culture of mediocrity, where bold ideas are discouraged and safe choices are celebrated. Over time, this stifling environment breeds resentment, alienation, and even rebellion, but rarely the kind that fosters positive change. On a neurological level, stagnation rewires the brain in ways that make breaking free increasingly difficult. Habitual behaviors carve deep grooves into neural pathways, making them easier to follow with each repetition. This is why quitting smoking, overcoming procrastination, or adopting healthier habits feels so arduous. It requires creating entirely new pathways while resisting the pull of well-worn ones. Cognitive biases further entrench these patterns. For instance, the status quo bias makes you favor existing conditions simply because they're familiar, even if they're detrimental. Similarly, the sunk cost fallacy convinces you to continue investing in failing endeavors because abandoning them would mean admitting defeat. Together, these mechanisms form an invisible prison, locking you into behaviors that no longer serve you, and ensuring that escape feels impossible. And yet, the impact of stagnation extends beyond the individual psyche. It infiltrates systems, institutions, and ideologies, reinforcing structures that prioritize stability over evolution. Take, for example, the workplace. Many organizations reward compliance over creativity, punishing those who challenge the status quo or propose radical solutions. Employees learn quickly that rocking the boat comes at a cost, so they silence their dissenting voices, trading innovation for security. Over time, this dynamic creates stagnant environments where inefficiencies thrive and opportunities for growth are squandered. Multiply this scenario across industries, governments, and societies, and you begin to see how widespread resistance to change perpetuates global inequities, environmental degradation, and technological stagnation. Even more insidious is the way stagnation distorts our perception of time. When you're stuck in repetitive cycles, years blur together, leaving you wondering where your life has gone. This temporal distortion isn't accidental, it's a symptom of living reactively rather than intentionally. Without moments of profound transformation to anchor your memories, life loses its texture and vibrancy. You may look back on decades of existence and find little to distinguish one year from the next. Arthur Schopenhauer captured this bleak reality when he wrote that life alternates between pain and boredom, with nothing truly remarkable to break the monotony. When most people never truly change, they doom themselves to this endless loop, mistaking survival for living. Perhaps the most devastating consequence of stagnation is its effect on relationships. Human connection thrives on growth, on shared experiences, evolving perspectives, and mutual support during times of transition. But when neither party evolves, relationships calcify, becoming transactional rather than transformative. Partners grow apart not because of conflict, but because they've stopped challenging each other to become better versions of themselves. Friendships fade not due to betrayal, but because neither person brings anything new to the table. Families fracture under the weight of unspoken expectations and unresolved grievances, passed down through generations like heirlooms of despair. In short, stagnation isolates, even amidst company, because it denies the very essence of what it means to be human: constant motion, adaptation, and renewal. Yet, despite these harrowing outcomes, few recognize the urgency of escaping this trap. Why? Because stagnation masquerades as safety. It whispers soothing lies: stay here. It's comfortable, predictable, safe. But comfort is a double-edged sword. While it shields you from uncertainty, it also robs you of vitality. Aldous Huxley warned of this paradox in Brave New World, envisioning a future where humanity sacrifices freedom for the illusion of happiness. Today, we edge closer to that dystopia with every swipe, scroll, and click that numbs us to the present moment. Entertainment addiction, social media obsession, and consumerism distract us from confronting the deeper issues at hand, keeping us docile and disconnected. The irony is that the longer you resist change, the more it consumes you. Like rust eating away at metal, stagnation corrodes your spirit, leaving behind only fragments of who you once were. Each missed opportunity chips away at your confidence, each unfulfilled dream dims your light, until eventually, you forget why you ever wanted to shine in the first place. But here's the critical realization: this erosion isn't inevitable. It's a choice, one made unconsciously, repeatedly, until it feels automatic. And like any habit, it can be broken. So ask yourself, what will it take for you to wake up? Will you wait until the cracks in your foundation widen into chasms, or will you seize control before collapse becomes unavoidable? Remember, the forces holding you back are powerful, but not invincible. They thrive on ignorance, fear, and denial. Shine a light on them, and their grip begins to loosen. Challenge them, and they falter. Replace them with intention, and they dissolve altogether. To break free from the chains of stagnation, you must first understand that rebellion isn't an act of destruction, it's an act of creation. It begins with dismantling the narratives, habits, and fears that have kept you tethered to the familiar, but it doesn't end there. True transformation requires building something new in their place, a vision of yourself unbound by limitations, untethered from fear, and aligned with your deepest truths. This process is neither linear nor comfortable, but it is profoundly liberating. Let us explore how to ignite this revolution within. The first step toward breaking free is recognizing that change begins not with action, but with awareness. You cannot dismantle what you refuse to see. Start by confronting the stories you tell yourself, the ones that whisper, "You're not enough," or "It's too late." These are not truths. They are constructs, built over years of conditioning and reinforced by moments of doubt. Friedrich Nietzsche once said, "He who has a why can endure any how." Your task is to uncover your why, the purpose that will fuel your journey forward. Ask yourself, what do I deeply desire? Not what society expects of me, nor what others have told me I should want, but what sets my soul ablaze. When you connect with this inner fire, resistance loses its power. Once you've identified your why, the next challenge is to confront the shadow, the parts of yourself you've buried out of shame, fear, or discomfort. Carl Jung believed that integrating the shadow was essential for individuation, the process of becoming whole. To do this, you must embrace vulnerability, allowing yourself to feel the pain, guilt, or insecurity you've spent so long avoiding. Journaling, therapy, meditation, all these tools can help you shine light into the darkest corners of your psyche. But remember, facing your shadow is not about eradicating it, it's about making peace with it. Only then can you reclaim the fragments of yourself you've lost along the way. Now comes the hardest part, disrupting the patterns that have defined your life until now. Habits are stubborn creatures, clinging to existence even when they no longer serve you. Breaking them requires replacing old behaviors with new ones, ones that align with your evolving identity. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, emphasizes the importance of small, consistent changes. Instead of trying to overhaul your entire life overnight, focus on incremental shifts. Want to cultivate discipline? Start with 5 minutes of focused work each day. Struggling with self-doubt? Practice affirmations daily, even if they feel forced at first. Over time, these tiny actions compound, creating momentum that propels you forward. But habit change alone isn't enough. You must also rewire your beliefs, the invisible scripts that govern your thoughts and decisions. Cognitive biases like confirmation bias and loss aversion keep you trapped in cycles of stagnation by reinforcing existing paradigms. To counteract them, adopt a mindset of radical curiosity. Question everything, your assumptions, your values, your goals. Seek out perspectives that challenge your worldview, whether through books, conversations, or experiences. Viktor Frankl argued that meaning arises from our ability to find significance in suffering. By reframing challenges as opportunities for growth, you transform obstacles into stepping stones. History offers countless examples of individuals who defied the odds and broke free from stagnation. Consider Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years yet emerging with a spirit unbroken. Or Malala Yousafzai, whose courage in the face of oppression inspired millions. These figures remind us that transformation often demands sacrifice, but the rewards far outweigh the costs. Their stories teach us that rebellion isn't about grand gestures, it's about persistence. It's showing up every day, even when progress feels imperceptible. It's choosing growth over comfort, authenticity over approval, and freedom over fear. Another powerful tool in your arsenal is community. While personal transformation is ultimately an individual journey, surrounding yourself with supportive, like-minded individuals can accelerate your progress. Find mentors who embody the qualities you admire, peers who challenge you to rise higher, and allies who celebrate your victories and console you in defeat. Together, you form a network of accountability, encouragement, and inspiration. Jean-Paul Sartre may have argued that hell is other people, but he also acknowledged that human connection shapes our understanding of ourselves. Choose wisely whom you allow into your circle, for they will either lift you up or drag you down. Finally, embrace the chaos inherent in change. Too often, we cling to order because it feels safe, predictable, even controllable. But real growth thrives in disorder, the messy, unpredictable space where creativity and innovation flourish. Aldous Huxley warned against societies that prioritize comfort over truth, but he also recognized the beauty of transcending limitations. In his later works, he explored the concept of transcendence, not as escape, but as expansion. By leaning into uncertainty, you open yourself to possibilities previously unimaginable. The unknown ceases to be a source of fear and becomes a canvas for reinvention. As you embark on this rebellion, keep one principle in mind: change is not a destination, it's a practice. There will be setbacks, moments of doubt, and days when the weight of inertia feels unbearable. But each time you choose to move forward, you weaken its hold on you. Each victory, no matter how small, strengthens your resolve. And each failure becomes a lesson, teaching you resilience and adaptability. Imagine standing at the edge of that glass lake once more. This time, instead of hesitating, you take a step forward. The surface cracks beneath your feet, sending ripples outward in all directions. For a moment, panic grips you, but then you realize something extraordinary: the water below isn't an abyss. It's a mirror, reflecting not who you were, but who you are becoming. The act of breaking free has transformed not just you, but the world around you. Now, let us arrive at the heart of the matter, the ultimate truth that redefines not only how you see change, but how you perceive existence itself. It is a revelation so profound that it dismantles the very frameworks through which you've understood life. To grasp this truth, you must first unlearn everything you believe about permanence and impermanence, identity and transformation, control and surrender. What lies ahead is not merely an endpoint, it is a paradigm shift, a moment of awakening that will leave you forever altered. Here is the paradox: you are both eternal and ephemeral. Your essence, your core being, is timeless, untouched by the fleeting nature of your physical form or circumstances. Yet simultaneously, you are in constant flux, shaped and reshaped by every experience, thought, and decision. This duality is the essence of human existence, the interplay between what remains unchanged and what evolves. To resist either aspect is to deny the fullness of who you are. Change, then, is not something external to you, it is woven into the fabric of your being. And stagnation? Stagnation is the act of rejecting this fundamental truth, of clinging desperately to one side of the equation while ignoring the other. Consider the philosophy of Heraclitus, who famously declared, "No man ever steps in the same river twice." His insight was simple yet revolutionary: reality is ceaselessly flowing, perpetually renewing itself. The river you stand in today is not the same as yesterday's waters, nor will it be tomorrow's. Likewise, the person you were yesterday no longer exists, and the person you will become has yet to emerge. This perpetual motion is not a flaw, it is the essence of life itself. To fight against it is to swim upstream, exhausting yourself in a futile attempt to hold on to what cannot be contained. Instead, embrace the current. Let it carry you forward, trusting that even in its unpredictability, there is purpose. But here's where the paradox deepens: while everything changes, nothing truly disappears. Every choice you make leaves an imprint, not just on your life, but on the collective consciousness of humanity. Think of Viktor Frankl's assertion that meaning arises from responsibility. Each action you take ripples outward, influencing others in ways you may never fully comprehend. Even moments of stagnation contribute to the greater flow, though their impact may be less constructive. This realization carries immense weight: you are not merely a passive observer of life, you are an active participant, co-creating the world with every breath you take. The question becomes not whether you will leave a mark, but what kind of mark you wish to leave. This perspective transforms how we view identity. For centuries, philosophers have debated the nature of the self. Is it fixed, immutable, defined by inherent qualities? Or is it fluid, ever-changing, shaped by experiences and choices? Both perspectives contain kernels of truth, but neither captures the whole picture. The self is not static, nor is it entirely malleable. Rather, it is akin to a tree, rooted deeply in the soil of your values and beliefs, yet constantly growing, branching outward in response to sunlight and storms alike. When you resist change, you prune those branches prematurely, stunting your growth. But when you allow yourself to expand, you tap into a reservoir of potential far greater than you imagined. To embrace this truth is to relinquish the illusion of control. Humans crave certainty because uncertainty terrifies us. We build structures, physical, mental, emotional, to shield ourselves from the chaos of existence. Yet these structures, however comforting, are illusions. Life is inherently unpredictable, and trying to impose order upon it is like attempting to cage the wind. True freedom comes not from controlling outcomes, but from surrendering to the process. As Arthur Schopenhauer observed, suffering arises from attachment to desires and expectations. By releasing the need to dictate every detail of your journey, you open yourself to infinite possibilities. This surrender does not mean passivity. On the contrary, it demands radical engagement with yourself, with others, with the world around you. It requires cultivating presence, the ability to inhabit each moment fully without judgment or distraction. In doing so, you begin to notice patterns previously obscured by noise, the interconnectedness of all things, the cyclical nature of growth and decay, the beauty hidden within imperfection. These insights awaken a sense of awe, reminding you that life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. And yet, embracing impermanence does not negate the importance of striving for meaning. Quite the opposite, it amplifies it. If everything is transient, then every action matters profoundly. Each moment becomes sacred, infused with significance. This understanding aligns closely with existentialist thought, particularly Jean-Paul Sartre's emphasis on radical freedom. While Sartre argued that life has no inherent meaning, he also believed that humans possess the power and responsibility to create their own. By choosing to engage authentically with the world, you transform fleeting experiences into enduring legacies. Ultimately, the greatest barrier to true change is not fear, habit, or societal conditioning. It is the belief that change is something external to you. The moment you realize that change is you, that it is the natural state of being, you transcend the limitations that once held you captive. No longer do you view transformation as a burden or a threat. Instead, you see it as an invitation, an opportunity to explore the boundless depths of your potential. As you reflect on this revelation, consider the words of Carl Jung: until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. By bringing awareness to the forces that shape you, both seen and unseen, you reclaim agency over your destiny. You step off the fragile glass of complacency and dive headfirst into the unknown, trusting that the water below will support you. And in that leap, you discover something extraordinary: the freedom to become. So now, standing at the edge of this vast, shimmering expanse, ask yourself one final question: who will you choose to be? Not tomorrow, not next year, but right now, in this very moment. Will you remain tethered to the familiar, or will you embrace the dance of becoming, knowing that every step forward shapes not only your future but the collective tapestry of humanity? Let this realization haunt you, inspire you, challenge you. Let it remind you that life is not a series of static snapshots, but a continuous unfolding, a symphony composed of countless notes, each one uniquely yours to play. And remember, the music only begins when you dare to break free. The journey ends where it began, with you. But now, armed with this newfound understanding, you are no longer the same person who stood hesitantly at the edge of the lake. You are someone new, someone braver, someone willing to step boldly into the unknown. Go forth and write your story, not with pen and paper, but with the choices you make, the risks you take, and the love you give. For in doing so, you honor not just yourself, but the eternal rhythm of existence itself.